Hey everyone, welcome back to Columbia City. This is episode 37, and today we're going to be working in the area near Old Town. We're going to be expanding Old Town, we're going to be building a waterfront park, and we're going to be building Pike Place Market, or at least the equivalent in Columbia City. Alright, so we're beginning here by expanding the road layout. I am trying to keep it in line with the road layout on the other side of the freeway. One thing that I had to do though is make what would have been the grid in between the two sides of the freeway a little bit off. Like, it's not exactly the correct dimension, which sort of sucks. However, it might have been like a power line or something in the past. Like, there might have been, an opening there that actually made sense and was there for a reason in the past. So I'm not too bothered by that. The freeway looks a lot more realistic, like it was just placed over demolished houses or row houses or whatever was there. I've also changed some of the stuff so that the houses that are right by where the roads used to be are corner houses. You'll see that a little bit later. I've been taking some suggestions just to make the area look more realistic. But yeah, this episode we're expanding over to the other side of the freeway. We're basically going to be doubling the size of Old Town. Currently, I'm placing some North American rail networks for what will be a passenger rail yard. We're gonna do this in a couple of episodes. For now, I'm keeping it here just as a placeholder so I know what's gonna be going on in this area. This specific area where the rail yard is gonna be a little bit industrial. The idea is that the neighborhood that we're gonna build in this episode was pretty industrial in the past, and it's still got a lot of that going, although a bunch of the warehouses that are further towards the residential area have actually been converted into newer apartments and stuff. So this is going to be a lot newer looking than the Old Town that we actually built a couple of episodes ago. That Old Town, I mean, this is still part of that Old Town. This is still called Old Town. However, it does have some newer buildings, and zoning isn't as strict and historically sensitive. So we're going to be placing some newer apartments, like you're already seeing me place some by the water. And especially in, that main road by the water is going to be a little bit upzoned. But there will be some taller old buildings by the water there, like that street was important in the past. I'm going to be spending a little bit of time placing down houses here. However, I'm going to be doing most of this off camera. All of these buildings that I'm placing right now are only a fraction of what will be in this area. Basically, the entire grid that I planned at the beginning of the episode just now is going to be filled. However, it's not going to all be filled on camera. I'm just giving you a little taste of what that might look like. It's going to basically look the same as what you're seeing. However, I do remove a bunch of the lower residential houses that I placed. They just didn't look quite right, and the transition into just, normal single family houses didn't quite work. Like, this area, I want to make it so that it is high density, and it has always been high density. The Columbia City has almost completely kept to expansion around the water for at least residential neighborhoods. Historically, a lot of the newer development is going to be further inland, but mostly it's just stuff around the water that has been developed, or it was developed a long time ago in the past. And I made a freeway on-ramp and off-ramp on the other side here, and then I'm making one on this side here. It might look a little bit makeshift, but this is sort of common in older cities and older parts of, maybe newer cities. Mostly what I'm trying to get here, though, is a clearly old vibe for the area, but with newer development. And so you'll see that a lot. I am also adding some pedestrian tunnels under the highway, just so that pedestrians are able to get over to the other side. I thought tunnels would be a cool little addition, using some paths from the workshop that came out a couple months ago. Yeah, they're a little bit glitchy, not too glitchy, a lot less glitchy than a lot of their counterparts, so that worked out fine. I just had to do a little bit of work with some surfaces to clean it up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, in terms of expansion, this episode was like, we made a lot of progress. There's a lot of stuff that I haven't even placed yet, like buildings I haven't even placed yet that I'll place later in the episode off camera. Basically, we expand a lot in this episode. Okay, it's time to build the public market. So, what are we doing here? We're doing, what has been the most highly requested build probably in Columbia City, or at least one of the most requested builds, which is to build something like Pike Place Market in Seattle. If you don't know, Pike Place Market is a public market in Seattle, Washington, which is obviously the city we're basing this off of. And it is really one of the main landmarks of the city. Like, it's up there with the Space Needle in terms of how important it is to the city, especially for tourism. But yeah, it's really, really cool, and it's very old. And the vibe of this market here is going to be similar, but not the same. So this is built obviously in one of the older parts of the city, down here by the water, off the grid a little bit. And I'm using a bunch of Gray Flame's awesome Pacific Northwest commercial buildings, which are really, really cool. I've been trying to find a use for these for a long time because they all look really similar. They've got really similar texturing, but they aren't quite the same, and they work really, really well when placed side by side. So that's what I did here, and I'm really, really happy with the results. And I'm using these surface networks down below them just so that the texture doesn't disappear as I zoom out. Otherwise, like it would if I used decals, it probably would disappear as I zoom out, and it wouldn't look that good. So I fixed that, and now I'm actually making sort of a custom sign with these like sort of backings by FineBuild and these letters by Jez, and they combine. Brandon Kirk gave me the suggestion to use these, and they're so cool. I didn't know these existed on the workshop, either of these assets, and they were absolutely perfect for what we're building here, and I am definitely going to use them more in the future, both the letters and the backing, for stuff like the piers and stuff near downtown. Which, by the way, there will be an update on those a little later in the episode, because that's a build I've been putting off for a while, and I'm going to talk about that later. Anyway, the sign, I was trying to figure out exactly where to place it. I ended up placing it right in front of the clock at the front of this building. But yeah, it ended up looking really, really cool, and I wanted to have a similar vibe to Pike Place, but not quite the same, and I think I achieved that pretty well. Like, this is a little bit more of a pristine, well-kept market where it's got it's clearly been refurbished. Like, it's a lot less historically, like it's not in its original form, let's just say that. Like, maybe there was new siding on the buildings because it got destroyed at some point or something like that, because the siding on the buildings looks very new. Like, it doesn't look like something that's been around for forever, and the roofs look not too old. But yeah, so I placed a Starbucks there, and then a Seattle's Best Coffee location, which is pretty funny. I was waiting to use that sign for a while. I finally got to use it in a pretty prominent location. But the main thing we're going to do is we're going to be placing some like market stalls here. We're going to be placing like Jez market props, which look super cool. We're going to do that a little bit later. Going to be some ultra close-up detailing on a level that I rarely do on the channel, so hopefully you're looking forward to that. Yeah, I'm placing the path on the waterfront here. You're going to be able to access the market from the waterfront or from the street. Okay, here I'm starting to place the market stalls. So Jez has this amazing pack of all of these Parisian market, like old Parisian market stalls with like all these flowers and carts and people, and like they're really, really cool. Some of them don't quite fit for what I'm doing here, and they're a little like clearly too old because this is set in the present day, not the past. But a lot of them work. A lot of them work really well, and I really have no complaints. They're so detailed and just so beautiful for this area, because I can see myself recording cinematics here a lot in the future. This is going to be a pretty big focal point of the city, so I wanted to make sure that I actually put some time into it. So I'm placing some really cool, all of these different market stalls. Like, it's not the same thing over and over and over again. and this is probably very inaccurate to Pike Place itself. Like, I have never been to Pike Place. I have never been to Seattle. I've never been to Washington. I've never been to Oregon. I've never been to the Pacific Northwest at all. The furthest north on the West Coast I've been is Sacramento. And yeah, I haven't been to the Pacific Northwest, and I'm building a Pacific Northwest city, which is sort of weird, but I figure it's a really cool region, and there's a lot of stuff I'm going to get wrong. Like, I'm probably getting a lot wrong in this episode. This isn't really supposed to be a replica, though, of Pike Place Market. It's supposed to be my own take on the idea of a public market that is, I mean, at least in my case here, largely outdoors, but there's a lot that's indoors as well that we're not even seeing within those buildings that I placed. And there is still a lot outdoors. One thing I don't quite get right here in this episode is getting people to walk around in the market. I placed some invisible pedestrian paths, but they didn't really do much. I'm gonna have to. I downloaded some raisable PPGs, Park People Generators, which I think came out relatively recently. I grabbed those, and I'm going to place them somewhere there at some point. I forgot to do that before recording the cinematics for this episode, though. Oops. But I will place those, and there will be life at our public market. It is pretty packed in, you'll see. I don't actually make, like, not every single market stall is custom. Like, I do copy paste these a lot. Like you'll see, I'm starting to copy paste them now. I end up using each market stall I make about 5 times each, and they are separated. It's never clear that I'm copy pasting them. They all look pretty unique, but like, I couldn't justify detailing 20 of these. I detailed about 10, maybe 12. Like, I could have detailed each individually, but I feel like that would be going a little bit overboard. I'm already adding a level of detail to this place that I never add in the rest of the city, or at least very rarely. I also add some murals later in the episode. Some of them I don't quite like the placement of, and I'll probably change in the future, so keep that in mind, because a lot of them look a little bit weird where they are, and maybe not that natural, but I'll come back here and revise this in the future. But the point is that this is supposed to be a pretty big landmark of the city, a pretty big tourist trap, and it looks super cool. Like, this is totally a justified tourist trap. Right by the water, really, really lively market, or at least once I place Park People Generators here and people are actually, here. But yeah, I love this build. Hopefully you do too, because I know it's been requested for a long time. But anyway, let's get to detailing the rest of the stuff that we built in this episode. Alright, Q&A time. So if you don't know what the Q&A segment is, you probably live under a rock, or you're a new viewer, either of which are okay. Basically, it's a segment where you can ask questions in the comments. Just tag your question, hashtag Q&A, in the comments section down below, and I will try to get to as many as I can. Anyway, starting off here, first question from Ethan Harner is, Prez, have you watched any of Do Not Eat's Franklin series? His Franklin and Power Planning and Politics series are a beautiful mixture of city skylines, history, urban planning, and politics. Definitely some of my favorite content across all of YouTube. Yes, I most definitely do, and I highly enjoy both of those series, and I really love what Do Not Eat's doing. If you enjoy Do Not Eat series, Big Mood Energy also creates pretty similar content, which is absolutely excellent content. It's similar to Do Not Eat's, but distinct in its own right, and I highly recommend you check it out. So yeah, her channel will be linked in the description, in addition to Do Not Eat's, if you also live under a rock and don't know who Do Not Eat is. Both are very, very highly recommended. Okay, next question here from Pingo9. Which 4 world cities do you most want to visit if possible? So I'm going to try to be not Eurocentric here, but 2 of the cities are going to be in Europe simply because I really, really want to visit both of them for I mean, one of the similar reasons. Paris and Amsterdam, I really want to visit. Amsterdam largely for the planning, because it looks like something I should see in my lifetime. And then Paris, just, it's Paris. I don't know what else to say. Other cities, I mean, I don't know. I'll just throw a couple out there. I mean, to go to Tokyo to see the sheer scale of it would be pretty cool. And then I don't know about the fourth, but some sort of city in a developing country that's some sort of mega city that is often overlooked. I don't know what that would be, and there'd be a lot of options for that one, but yeah, that's close enough to 4 cities. Khalil asks, if you could move to any city in the world, where would it be? And if it's not in North America, what North American city would you want to move to? Okay, in terms of the world, I'm not exactly sure because I haven't been to a ton of cities outside the US. I've only been to, I mean, Halifax when I was very young, and then Berlin more recently. If I had nothing keeping me in North America, I'd probably choose Amsterdam or Paris for cities. I mean, I also highly enjoyed Berlin when I was there, and the history in that city is insane. So that's also a city I would consider moving to. I mean, maybe any of those 3, or obviously there are other options within Europe. That's assuming I had absolutely no reason to stay in North America, which I definitely do. So here in North America, like in terms of my top couple of places, it would either be not SF specifically, but the Bay Area, probably East Bay, which I'm going to be moving to soon, actually, or it would be Boston or New York. That would probably be my top 3. The Bay Area and the East Bay specifically are number 1 because of the just amazing nature that you get not only in the Bay Area, but the West Coast generally. And it's a lot harder to reach such diverse climates on the East Coast. And I mean, yeah, the Bay Area is amazing. And I'm a cyclist, so being able to ride country roads and then be in like one of the most beautiful cities in the world in San Francisco, or in beautiful surroundings like Berkeley, just immediately is really cool. And I really love the way that land is preserved in the Bay Area in at least a lot of locations, and it's just a beautiful place. So that's probably my number 1 within the United States, and I'm moving there soon, so that's pretty convenient. Anyway, next, from KA7ARI. I'm assuming that's supposed to be, the 7 is supposed to be a T, so Qatari. I'm switching to the PC version of the game from Xbox. Do you have any mods recommendations? I mean, first of all, I don't know what PC you have, so I don't know exactly what to recommend. Obviously, at some point, you're going to want to start using custom assets, like I'm using. I have 7,000 of them. Don't be as crazy as me. But Move It is immediately the number 1 mod to get. Like, it allows you to completely move anything around, and it's very necessary. I think anybody would tell you that. Like Prop and Tree Anarchy, Road Anarchy, Find Road Tool, lots of other stuff. My mod list is in the description, and basically all of the mods on the list are very useful, and most of them don't actually like decrease your FPS. Contrary to popular belief, mods are not the things that are decreasing your frame rate almost all of the time, unless you're using like dynamic resolution like I am on 200%, which that will decrease your frame rate by definition because you're running a high resolution. But otherwise, mods are like, you know, something like I don't know, like Hide It. I don't have any reason to think that Hide It is decreasing my frame rate. Like, it's actually removing props, which might increase my frame rate. Like, it might be a mod that is, like, adds 1 item to my mod list, but that doesn't mean it's decreasing my frame rate, and that goes for many other mods. So keep that in mind. Like, your mod count is not the thing that will decrease your frame rate. A lot of the time, I mean, maybe your asset count will, or specifically the types of assets you're placing in your city. Those are some things to keep in mind. Next question from Croats. How do you keep yourself motivated while your game is lagging and running at 5 to 15 FPS, which almost makes it unplayable? I honestly get really demotivated and tend to play the game less when my city starts lagging. Perhaps it's just something I have to get used to, but I'd love to hear about how you think about it. Love this series, keep it up. I'd basically say to look down when you're building, don't look at the city. I'm getting probably 25 FPS in this current clip. I'm looking down, like that's a decent frame rate, I'm fine with that. But once I look at the city, it gets way worse. So keep that in mind and then move further out from the city and you'll get a better frame rate. But that's about all I can say, because the game is going to run pretty badly if you're running a lot of mods and assets. But anyway, Q&A over. Remember, hashtag Q&A in the comments if you want your question featured. Anyway, it is now time for another collab build. Yeah, another one. All right, we are here with Rowendi. Why don't you tell us about your channel, what you're doing on there, and then we'll talk about the project that you built here in Columbia City.
So yeah, hi guys, I'm Rowendi, and I started building cities on YouTube about 3 months ago. I'm right now working on Ashford and West Valley. West Valley is based on Northwest Pacific, and Ashford is based on New England, just like Press. And yeah, he was my inspiration, and I contacted him for the guest build, and yeah, here we are.
Yeah, this guest build is absolutely awesome. I love the detailing here. So you're using all of these houses. I don't think you used any houses that weren't from Smiley's. They're all the pre-detailed houses from Smiley's, but you added tons of vegetation around them. Like, I love all of the vegetation detailing here.
Yeah, exactly. I first looked on Google Earth. I was looking for some little communities by the hills, and I found out that they used to have a lot of vegetation, and I just thought I'm gonna add a bit more to make it look really greeny. yeah.
Yeah, and I love all of the detailing that's not even just vegetation detailing. Like, you're making sure to add dumpsters by the Dollar Tree there.
Yeah.
Fences around the school, because there's an elementary school in the middle. This is supposed to be just a small little rural village. We're pretty far outside of the city. I'll show you a little later where exactly we are. But then I like this gas station a lot, with the detailing behind it. And then I'll totally expand that road when I build more in the area.
Yeah, exactly. I also thought because the houses I used, they were pre-detailed, but I thought I'm just gonna add some residential props to make it feel more alive. So yeah, I think it turned out really
feels
well.
really alive. This totally feels like a small town. There's a good level of traffic now that I connected it to the main city. You added some Columbia City flags by the entrance to the school, which is pretty cool. I like that. You might be able to see those sort of on screen there. And then, yeah, it's I love all these models, these houses worked so well the way you placed them.
Yeah, exactly. And also, I added a little church too, because on Google Earth I saw here in Europe you don't have in every place a church, but I saw that almost in every little area by the hills and also in the city you have these little churches, and so I thought I'm also gonna add a local church here. So yeah.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. This is where it sort of is on the map. It's really far away from downtown. It's maybe the furthest away from downtown of anything that has been built in the city. But we really did need some rural stuff. And this is definitely awesome just to get us started with that region over there. And I'll definitely build more on my own in that area in the future. But yeah, thanks so much for joining me. Highly, highly recommend that you check out Rowendi's channel. And just amazing, amazing builds over there. And anything else to say?
Yeah, I want to, of course, I want to thank Press for giving me the opportunity to build on his channel and just make the community a bigger one and just, help the community out. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks so much. Okay, it is time for some quick announcements. So first of all, we're moving this pier right here, the amusement park pier, and we're moving these two over here. We're gonna move them away from downtown. Yeah, wait, what? Yeah, we're moving them over here. So the amusement park pier is now near Old Town and the train station, and the other two piers are near the Central Park district down by the water, and we're gonna integrate them with surroundings in the future, don't worry. But yeah, they are no longer in downtown. Again, there's a story for Central Park now. It used to be the city's drinking water supply, but it was turned into a park a while back and renamed Central Park very recently in 2011, and it was only gentrified in the last 20 years. The full story for it is written by Cordero Jones. I'll put that on the screen right now if you want to pause that. Really, really cool story, and I think that makes a lot of sense for it. Oh yeah, and the name for the district surrounding the park is going to be Gilmore Hill, as suggested by Boss Van Dyman, after David Gilmour of Pink Floyd, because that's my favorite band. Totally unrelated to the Pacific Northwest, but I connect with the name, so I'm going to use it. Anyway, this episode is, wow, okay, look, we accomplished a lot this episode. Look at that before and after there. We got another one coming in just a second. Well, look at the before and then the after. Wow, we did a lot here. Look at that. That's basically, okay, it's almost double the size of Old Town, which took a whole episode and seemed like a lot of work in and of itself. I mean, I did do a lot of this off camera, so it makes sense that we were able to get through so much in one video. But still, I'm really happy with it. It didn't take me too much time to do it off camera. Actually, no, that's sort of a lie. This took a long time. Every single one of the last maybe 5 episodes has taken me a long time to make. Like, I'm doing a lot of work off camera for these videos now, and I'm fine with that. I want to, make sure the series moves quickly. But yeah, look at this. It's so good. Really satisfying. Yeah, I highly enjoyed this build, and I like the industrial area on the left there. This whole area was very centered around industry in the past and still has some industrial buildings which are still there, and especially near the rail yard that we'll build in a future episode, passenger rail yard over there. But yeah, lots of progress. I don't know what else to say. I'm very much a fan of what we did this episode. Hopefully you are too. But anyway, that's about it for the overview. It's time to go down onto ground level, or close to ground level. We're at like the top of a building right now. But I want to show you what this looks like from closer down, because it feels really realistic. Wow, look at this building by Fine Build. I love this building on the right there. I had to use it somewhere. I was actually going to use it for the Pike Place Market itself, but it was a little big and didn't fit the theme of the other buildings. We've got like a little courthouse over here, the monument, which I think is pretty cool. And a bunch of trucks just going around. And wow, look at the ground level. This feels like a neighborhood in any sort of slight outskirt of the downtown of an American city, like a older area. Wow, look at that. It's so cool on the ground level. And then this church from Rochester by Fine Build. This asset, I actually have it placed in one other spot in the city, so I might have to remove one of them just because it's so unique. On the other hand, it's so good, and I had to place that there. And then we have some, we have Carl's Closet, and we have Comrade Grocers, and the Rent Control Office, which is pretty cool. Maybe pointing to the city's history. This honestly just looks like a neighborhood in Brooklyn. Really awesome vibes here. See, I want to make sure this city has a lot of East Coast inspiration, which is not too unrealistic for the Pacific Northwest. I go pretty heavy on it, but I know that Seattle's history involved it, at least initially, being really promoted as what could be the West Coast alternative to New York, or like a huge, huge city on the West Coast. Maybe that's a myth, but that's my understanding. So maybe Columbia City goes even further than that and actually has a real East Coast vibe. Anyway, I'm gonna end the video off here. Hopefully you all enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram, although I'm pretty inactive there right now. I've deleted Instagram. Highly enjoying my decision. But you can still follow me if you want to see my previous posts and possible future posts. If you want to support me, there are multiple options now, and there will be even more in the future. One new one is to support me on Ko-fi. Just buy me a coffee, one-time contribution, and no monthly pledge or anything. That's an option if you want now. That's in the description. Highly appreciated. But if you do want to give a monthly pledge, You can do that over my Patreon, get access to videos early, get your name in the credits. You can get save games. You can actually get a call with me every month now. That's the thing. And you can also get shout outs. I'm going to try to make sure I give some patrons some recognition. So this episode, I want to shout out Tran, Steve Gordon, Barclay, Dudemeister, and LNX. Thank you all so much for your support. And thank you everybody watching for your wonderful support, whether you're a patron or not. My uploads might get a little bit more inconsistent over, the next couple of months, but that'll be okay. I'm still gonna put out content. I'm still gonna put out content that I enjoy making, and I hope you'll stick around for it.